Okay, go live here on YouTube and on Rumble. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the reliefvalve podcast. This is a little bit of the pre-show to the interview with old Brett. What's his name there? Brett Baer, and we'll see how this is going to go because this Q&A session is a town hall event with Fox viewers. I don't know if everyone was aware of that. I'm not even sure. I thought it was a one-on-one similar to the 60 Minutes and other stuff that she's done. So, you know, I've said before when doing the show, you can't trust any of the legacy media. And yes, I put Fox News in with that. I used to be a fan of Fox News. I followed that on a regular basis, and then as my eyes got open more and more, I realized they're just a different side of the same coin, as far as the ones that you can't trust. And I'm cautious about this whole thing. I don't know if this guy's going to ask fair questions. I don't know if he's going to take it to her and hold her accountable for being the fake that she is. But and I've already said this online on my on my X account that I'm going to be all over him like white on rice on online, as I imagine many others will, if he doesn't keep his word and he doesn't do what, he doesn't handle this properly. This is just going to be a worse thing for Fox for coddling comrade Kamala. Now, he's gone on and he said that he has been responding to some people, and he has been claiming that he's gonna ask the proper questions and he's gonna handle this right, something like that. All right, hold on a second here. Yeah. Brett is only one T, whatever. I don't know which one he was putting it on, but he was answering questions and he was claiming how he was gonna don't miss my exclusive interview with VP Kamala Harris on the special report at Fox News at 6 p.m. So a little less than an hour, and you got a whole bunch of people. You want us back at Fox, Brett? Ask her about religious prosecution of peaceful praying at abortion clinics, not inside them, outside them. Ask why she sort of prayed of prayer. So there's been a lot of people who I've gone on his page too, and I've said I'm going to be doing my particular part to hold you accountable if you turn this into crap. So we're going to see how this turns out. Let's go to Fox and friends here. President, all Americans. All right. So while they're going off here and doing their thing, let's catch up with some news that I haven't been able to get to yet. And we're going to go to, why do I have the Jeremy Clarkson thing on here? What happened to my original videos? I like the Grand Tour and Clarkson's farm. I was just checking out some stuff with that. All right, so we had Steve Ducey, and he shows some of the comments from Bill Clinton while Bill Clinton was out yapping to some people. And I wanted to show this because he ends up saying the quiet part out loud. So, wait, where the fuck is it? I had to save right at the part I wanted. Now these assholes are just jabbering. All right, hold on. All right, this is supposed to be on the video that I'm on right now. All right, fuck him. Where is. All right, here we go. Whoops. If they'd all been properly vetted, that wouldn't have happened. So Bill Clinton saying the quiet part out loud. I know he was trying to say something a little different here, or maybe put this on the Republican Party and say, oh, well, if you didn't vote on that bill that the Democrats put forward, maybe we could have avoided this. But he doesn't do that. What he says was, if these people were vetted and you knew who was coming across that border, maybe the murder of Lake and Riley wouldn't have happened. And he flubs up and he says that, basically in saying this, it's Kamala Harris's and Joe Biden's fault. Now they're trying to say that, in making these statements, that we're not having enough babies anymore, while ironically having the Democratic Party come out and tell you, if you don't want the responsibility of children, go ahead and get an abortion. Well, which one is it? Do we have enough of a population? Because this is what Clinton is saying right now. In that previous clip I just played you, and then that one right next to it, he's saying we need illegal immigrants, and this was a policy that the European nations did too, especially after World War II. They opened, because the loss of millions upon millions of lives during the war, that we needed to open our borders and we needed to repopulate our countries, that being Europe at the time, because we lost a lot of our workforce. We lost a lot of our fighting age men. And our industry is suffering from not having enough workers. So that was the mindset for opening the borders at that time. And then it's been a poor excuse that the Democratic Party has used since that time. That their excuses have been, well, the illegals do jobs that Americans don't want to do. That's the first one. Now, the second one that Clinton was just bringing up to you was, well, we're not having babies as much anymore, so we need the immigrants as a quasi-replacement human beings in order to make up for our declining child statistics. But then on the same time, the Democrats will come to you and they'll say, you have the right to an abortion. Getting rid of Roe versus Wade was wrong. Don't listen to these Republicans. And if you want to get rid of your kids, get rid of your kids. Well, which problem are we having? Are Americans not having enough babies? Or does every woman have to get an abortion? Because he's being a hypocrite and he's contradicting his own message and the Democratic Party's own message in saying, well, we're not having enough kids, therefore we need the illegal immigrants coming across the border in order to supplement our population. I don't know about you guys, when I drive to work or you drive to work and you're out and about, I don't see any room on the roads. The roads don't seem to have less cars or less people, or the stores don't seem to have less people at all. In fact, it seems to be even more than when it was COVID. So, maybe I'm just not involved in looking at the long-term numbers, but I haven't seen a decline in human beings. So it still comes back to, you're letting illegal immigrants in to do God knows what, either suckle off the teat of the government, which is taxpayer dollars, But the Democrats give that to them, and then it's, vote for us, while ignoring that you're stealing from the taxpayers to do it. And then maybe they work, or maybe they sit on their ass somewhere and they collect benefits. Who knows? But he's trying to suggest that they're coming in and they're here to help. Essentially, it's going to turn into help for our workforce because we don't have enough people. And that's just a line of garbage from the Democratic Party. It's what they want is to change the demographics of red states specifically, because the border states were a fair amount of red states. And that changes the demographic of them. And then you've got more people that are probably more inclined to vote Democrat that are coming in. The reason that the Democratic Party has been losing their minds over the immigrant thing most recently is because the border states and red states have started fighting back and shipping these people off to New York or to Chicago or to wherever, these Democrat states that never really took the immigration issue right on the chin. So now they've had to face it head on, with Mayor Adams in New York having a hell of a time, and now he's being investigated, and people are trying to tie in him speaking out against how the immigration is hurting New York to him no longer having his protections and being investigated, but for wrongdoings. Either way, he's a scumbag who is taking money from Turkey to help them out with business deals in New York. But even if one or the other is true, they're still suffering the way that the red states and the border states suffer when they're getting in all these illegal immigrants, because now they're coming in and they're sowing chaos in their own cities, in their own states now. And now they're having to face that head on. And their idea of bringing them in to change the demographics of states that maybe will help favor Democrats more isn't working out so well when you ship them all over the country. Remember when they got sent to Martha's Vineyard? Do you remember how the wonderful left-wing liberal supportive people in Martha's Vineyard, do you remember how quickly, when DeSantis sent them from Florida to, I believe it was Martha's Vineyard, do you remember how quickly those kind-hearted people complained, said we don't have the resources here to help you, and called for the military to come in and ship those people on buses and got them the hell out of there? That's your actual Democrat voter. That's your actual leftist liberal right there. The ones that, while claiming that welcome, come in and we welcome you with open arms, but also don't come anywhere near our neighborhood because we know what's going to happen if you come near our neighborhood. This is what the Democratic Party are hypocrites. Like, go way far over there where I don't have to deal with you. I'll be supported from here, and then you go over there. There's been a lot of cases of this happening. It wasn't Stephen. I don't know if it was Stephen Curry or it was LeBron James, but I know it was a kind of famous basketball couple, him and his wife, that lived in a very expensive kind of gated community. And they were going to build a project essentially almost right next door to where they were living. Okay. These are people I'm fighting to remember if it was LeBron James. You can let me know in the comments, but, and they were just up in arms. They went to their town council and they said, no way, you're going to drive home prices down. We're going to have more crime and all these problems. Don't bring these people and put them next door to us, while simultaneously saying, well, I support blacks, I support immigrants, I support black and brown people, and and we're here for all of that. And they're liars and they're hypocrites, and they don't want the illegals there. They just want the illegals' votes. But then when it's counterproductive and it sows chaos, that's when they run into a problem. So speaking of all Kamala, which is why we're here tonight, here is, this was brought to you, I think, by a group that's funded by, I think, the Lincoln Project. The Lincoln Project is a bunch of ex-Republicans who are now essentially Democrats. Essentially, they were kicked out of the crew for being idiots, failures, and morons. They're the dregs of the Republican Party. And the place is quite literally full of pedophiles. Several of their higher-ups have already been either investigated or arrested for having inappropriate relationships with children. So the Lincoln Project is just a garbage organization you shouldn't listen to. But here's a campaign video here that they paid for in support of Kamala Harris. This is supposed to be real men who have no problem voting for a woman, and that woman being Kamala Harris. Check this video out. Oh, God. Fucking commercials. I'm sorry. Hold on. Trump train. You didn't have to cook my steak rare. Look me right in the eye and accept my full-throated endorsement. What else do you think this fucking guy takes full-throated? Raw dog a flight? Is that what you call Saturdays with your boyfriend? Raw dogging a flight? That's not how my mama raised me. So they, because of the embarrassment and the backlash of this, they've already had to take this off the air. Some people have saved this, which is the reason you can still see it in other news organizations, but they already cut it at this point. But you just see that none of these people are manly men. It all seems like a bunch of homosexuals that are like, almost all white dudes for Harris. And the problem with Comrade Kamala has been that her push has been the continued emasculation of men, and this is more towards it now. They're trying to put the spin on it and saying, well, if you want to be a real man, you would vote for Kamala Harris. What you'll notice that's missing from this campaign ad is any policies, any ideas, anything that she's going to do to help you to make your life better. There are none of those things in this. But they're just saying that you're not a real man if you're not willing to step up and vote for a woman in Kamala. And it completely ignores the fact as well, I would be willing to vote for her if she wasn't a brain-dead, opportunistic moron. Dementia Joe's brain was made of oatmeal. Kamala is a professional, stupid, useless person. And people don't want to vote for her on that grounds. Not because they're saying, I don't think we're ready for a woman in office yet. We've had men for 100 freaking years, right? 200 years. Yes, it would be perfectly fine to have a woman in there now, but get the right type of woman in there. And what I mean by that when I say right woman is have an intelligent woman that's aware of what's going on in the world, aware of what's happening to families, and aware of the direction the United States needs to go in. Kamala Harris is not that person. She's a professional idiot. And in the emasculation of men are bad, white men are bad, men in general are bad. Then you got Obama coming out and chastising the black community, saying black men are bad for not voting for Kamala or not being willing to come out in larger numbers and vote for Kamala. There's been this attack on not just white men now, but men across the board. It's not okay to be masculine. It's not okay to be a man. You have to bow down and take it from the woman. You can't mansplain and do anything else. And then on top of that, if you don't vote for the woman, like this video is suggesting, you're not a man either. So it's an attack from men on all fronts. And the numbers show right now that the men, and especially black men, are starting to turn on her because they're getting pissed off. You know what? I wouldn't want Barack Obama pretending to be one of the brothers and coming to tell me about what I'm doing wrong. I'll make up my own mind and I'll decide my own vote. So tonight, while we're all here, that'll be coming up in about 23 minutes. Vice President Kamala Harris is sitting down for an interview with Fox News anchor Bret Baier this week as her campaign aims to win over Republicans who may not be a fan of former President Donald Trump. Baier will interview Harris on Wednesday in Pennsylvania, a swing state where polls point to a dead-even race between Harris and Trump just 3 weeks before Election Day. Actually, some of the most recent polls show, in some cases, Trump leading in Pennsylvania and her losing. Harris has sought to win over disaffected Republican voters, staking out more centrist positions on issues like immigration and foreign policy. She has also touted her support from Republicans like former Representative Liz Cheney. Is there anyone excited that Liz Cheney is backing her? Liz Cheney is a traitor to her own constituents. She's a traitor to the American people, and she's one of the scumbag Republicans that sat on the January 6th committee. Is anyone excited that her and her dad, Dick Cheney, the oil mogul, scumbag warmonger that was part of the Bush presidency, are they excited that Bush and Liz are backing Kamala? The interview will give her the opportunity to present her ideas to a more conservative-leaning audience. Harris advisor Ian Sams said the interview is a stark reminder that Trump has not done very many interviews with the press during an appearance on Fox News Channel's Your World on Monday. That's not true. He's been doing a whole bunch of stuff and rallies. It's been a month since Donald Trump did a mainstream media interview. We've got to wonder why. Because he goes to 60 Minutes, CNN, and others, and then he gets screwed over, fact-checked with lies in real time, instead of having the opportunity to actually talk about where he's coming from and what's going on. That's the reason he's not accepting additional ones from that side. Trump responded to the interview in a post in Truth Social. I would have preferred seeing a more hard-hitting journalist, but Fox has grown so weak and soft on the Democrats, constantly polluting the airways with unopposed Kamala representatives, that it all doesn't matter anymore, he wrote. As the network's chief political anchor, Baier at times provides analysis about the election. He has specifically provided thoughts on Harris's media strategy, but does not give his opinions on the merits of her policy as a straight news journalist. What do I think of Vice President Harris's strategy of avoiding the press so far? I think that it can't last, and I think eventually there's going to be a big interview, he said during the Democratic National Convention in August. I hope she comes on special report with me. We've offered it many times. Eventually, she's going to have to answer questions about her past statements and her policies and where she is now. Harris has ramped up her media appearances in the past few weeks. In addition to the Fox News interview, she's appeared on podcasts called such as Call Her Daddy and The Shade Room, local media outlets in swing states, CBS 60 Minutes, and Charlemagne the Moron. And this has all been a blitz because she's falling behind. And she couldn't hide in the basement like Dementia Joe anymore. She had to come out and she had to start answering more questions and giving more policy answers because not being out there is hurting her. So let's catch up here to where we're at. Right, so we're on here because the debate is going to come on right after this. The 5 is going to end, and the debate is coming on. So there's a method to my madness about being on here. If you don't want to listen to these guys. So there's rumors about this. Alex Jones has brought it up too, that Kamala's team has reached out to Joe Rogan, and they are discussing whether she can come on and do a show. Now, as anyone that's listened to Joe Rogan knows, his shows generally go for about, depending on how in touch he is with the guest, it can be from an hour. You know, generally, if the guest is just a regular one, it'll be about two and change. And if it's really good, 3 hours plus. Kamala isn't smart enough to discuss issues for 3 hours plus. And Alex Jones has said, being a friend of Joe Rogan's, he said Joe is not going to agree to stipulations, heavily monitoring this or not putting it live or the normal things that she does. Even with the debate that's coming on tonight, this has already been pre-taped. When the understanding in the beginning was this was supposed to be live. Why isn't it live? So they can do some light editing for any of her flubs, which they've done with a 60 Minutes interview, they've done with other interviews, and fix the word salad and the rambling that she does. So this already happened either earlier today or yesterday, and now it's airing tonight at 6 p.m. So bear that in mind. I'm saying live here, but it's live for all of us that we're seeing it now as it's coming on, but that's not how they set it up. And so getting back to the Joe Rogan thing, her team is in talks are going on Joe Rogan. There's nothing set about that right now. And additionally, Trump has been in talks with Rogan about to go on there because both of them are trying to get out there, to a larger audience and make their case heard and have their point. And they're hitting just everyone that they possibly can. Now, Rogan's come up as the next thing that they want to do. Rogan's got about 11 million followers. I think he's one of the biggest podcasters. Tucker Carlson might have overtaken him for a little bit at a time on Spotify. But for the most part, Rogan has been the biggest one. So they would reach a massive audience. But are they willing to have a candid conversation with Joe, even if he takes it easy on them? And still attempts to have a reasonable, candid conversation with them? Who knows how that's going to go? It could be a campaign ender for Kamala. It could not do a lot of good for Trump either. So it's interesting to see what information is going to come out about whether they're actually going to do Rogan or not. We've only got 23 more days or so until the election. So if they're doing this, they've got to do it soon. All right, so they're on a commercial break here. So what has Joe said about Kamala before the rumored interview? Joe Rogan is expected to host Vice President Kamala Harris on his podcast, reports say. According to Reuters, Harris's campaign officials met with Rogan's team this week, but an appearance by this popping up from the Daily Mail. Obama and Biden having a very tense conversation where they've said Obama was chastising Biden over something. We'll try to get to that later. But according to Reuters, Harris campaign officials met with Rogan's team this week, but an appearance by the Democratic presidential nominee on the Joe Rogan Experience has not been confirmed. The podcaster is known for being a strong supporter of the freedom of speech and has sparked controversy for his comments on coronavirus and the transgender community. In the second quarter of 24, Rogan's show was the most popular on Spotify, Edison Research found. Reuters reported that the podcast attracted tens of millions of listeners, with Rogan's audience leaning heavily toward young men, a demographic that is trending toward Harris's political opponent, former President Donald Trump, ahead of November's election. Newsweek has contacted Harris's campaign team for clarification via email outside standard working hours. Okay, gives a shit. All right. So during the 2024 presidential race, Rogan had been complimentary about Harris while criticizing Trump. In September, the podcaster praised Harris and her presidential campaign team after her debate with Trump on the 10th. Whoever is helping her, whoever's coaching her, whoever's the puppet master running the strings, amazing job. They did an amazing job. From the moment Biden drops out, Rogan told guest Tom Segura. Rogan also said Harris has been better prepared than Trump, and then it came to answering questions. She answered by saying things she believed, and they sounded real good. That's not really the case. The information has been coming out that she was handed the questions in advance, and of course they softballed her and then attacked Trump. That's the reason she was able to come out that looking better than Trump. However, later that month, he said on his podcast that an administration headed by Harris and a running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, could result in a clampdown on free speech online. I don't think it turns around if Kamala Harris gets into office, Rogan told former Navy SEAL and CIA contractor Sean Ryan, who from the Sean Ryan show, if anyone's followed that, he has an interesting show too on YouTube. I think they clamp down more. I think the same stuff they were trying to do with Twitter, they'll try to do it with something else, with other things. Elon Musk, who owns X, formerly Twitter, shared a post that included a clip of the podcaster's comments, writing, "Joe Rogan is absolutely right. Rogan has not endorsed Harris. In August, he praised independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr., saying, he's the only one that makes sense to me. He doesn't attack people. He attacks action and ideas, but he's much more reasonable and intelligent." The podcaster later clarified that his comments were not an endorsement of Kennedy, who has since dropped out of the race, but put his weight behind President Trump. For the record, this isn't an endorsement, Rogan wrote on X. This is me saying that I like RFK Jr. as a person, and I really appreciate the way he discusses things with civility and intelligence. I think we could use more of that in the world. So we'll see if it turns into interviews with Rogan by Kamala Harris and by President Trump. We'll see how that goes. In the meantime, while we're waiting here, we've got North Korea is taking militaristic moves against South Korea. They've already been blowing up and destroying checkpoints at the border. Let me see what I've got here. This is my X account, reliefvalve podcast on X. And it was showing some video of North Korea taking more militaristic action as if they're preparing to attack South Korea at this point. Okay, here's some video here. Doesn't look like there's any sound, but this is Alex Jones putting it up. North Korea prepares for war. They blow up the roads and rails that used to connect the North and South. Kim Jong-un has ordered artillery units to move near the border with readiness to engage if the U.S. starts a war with Iran. World War III is guaranteed. If you've been hearing, North Korea has kind of joined the axis of evil with it's been North Korea, China, Russia, and Iran all joining together. North Korea gets a fair amount of help from China, both politically, financially, and militarily as well. That's how they're able to build up more stuff that they have. They get a fair amount from China, and then they work together. So North Korea, let's see what they have to say on this. North Korea destroyed parts of roads and rail lines connecting it with South Korea. It comes after North Korea last week accused South Korea of flying drones over its capital. Experts told BI the road destruction was symbolic and it is unlikely to lead to full-scale war. North Korea blew up parts of roads and rail lines connecting it with South Korea on Tuesday in a move that has escalated tensions in the region. In response, South Korea fired warning shots within its own border, according to South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff, it described North Korea's actions as extremely abnormal. The destruction, however, is mainly symbolic and is unlikely to lead to war, experts told Business Insider. Most of the inter-Korean roads have been closed off since 1953 anyway, said Jim Hoare, a historian and former British diplomat in North Korea. It is, in fact, another symbolic gesture, but in reality, it makes no difference to what the situation has been on the ground. Tensions between the Koreas have been simmering since before the Korean War divided them in 1953. North Korea's approach used to lean towards reunifying the two countries, but that has changed in recent months. In 2020, North Korea blew up the Inter-Korean Liaison Office in Kaesong, which used to serve as a de facto South Korean embassy. In December of last year, state media reported that North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un, announced he would no longer be seeking reunification and that the South Korea was now a hostile state. I believe that is a mistake that we should no longer make to consider the people who declare us as the main enemy as a counterpart for reconciliation and unification, he said in a statement. Trade between the two Koreas has now fallen to almost zero from $2.7 billion in 2015, according to Bloomberg. So they're claiming that this is a symbolic instruction, just North Korea flexing its muscles, and they do tend to do that, firing missiles into the water and nuclear tests and, other crap like that. So, we'll see. All right. We got Fox News is showing that this is coming up here. Let me see if I can get on to this live in case that other one. Nope, they want me to sign into some stupid network, so I've got to get it from somewhere else. So, all right, so this is where we're at. It's supposed to start in a couple of minutes, right after the 5. This is supposed to be happening. So I'm waiting. All of us are waiting. This is going to start, and we'll view this together, and we'll see what kind of shit show this might turn into. And if Brett Baer actually does his job. That's one way to do it. And the show is going to be starting in another minute here. The Kamala, Brett Baer town hall debate, whatever this is, they've kind of done their own thing with this. That's an agile turtle. Am I not turtly enough? Turtle Club? If it's not going to show here, I'll jump to Benny Jones, Benny Jones show, Benny Johnson show. He's going to be showing it live. So this is actually going to click open. which was previously recorded, not live as they actually claimed. It wasn't a priority. She's bullshitting as always. At the very beginning, they were essentially saying, boasting about it, that the border was open. They didn't try and close it or fix it or do anything. It's not a discussion. We want the border closed. She's making it like, well, there's some people who feel a little differently about it, and both sides need to talk about it. No, it's a problem for every American across the board, and it needs to be addressed. And her and Dementia Joe are not doing anything. You're absolutely right. If they'd make it a priority, it wouldn't have been the problem that it is now. It never was. There's some lag and video issues here. That's not on my end. I apologize, everyone. We can go to Benny Johnson's, and if we're gonna keep having issues here. Let's go to Benny Johnson's coverage. It's your fault. Yeah, you're right, Smith PD. It's more of this bullshit word salad. The first time ever. She had never been there up to that point. And it's only because she's running for office. That's not the problem. They don't need more resources. They need to be able to do their job. When the Biden Harris regime sent more National Guard and more agents to the border, the only thing they had them doing was doing paperwork and pushing pencils. That was it. It was to get the illegals through the process faster and get them into the interior of the United States. And that's what the Democrats are doing now, is pretending that the problem is that we can't get to the amount of these people and process them well enough. That isn't the issue. Allowing them to even come through the border is the issue. Campaign for One Direction is dead. Yeah, but their hands tied behind their back by your regime. That's her foot flopping again. It was cool 5 years ago. Not now that she's running, though. Now she's for the law. Does anybody? We got a whole bunch of people joining. Thanks for everybody that's with us. Does anybody remember when Kamala Harris was helping to bail out Black Lives Matter rioters out of prison? You remember when she helped with that? But now she's Mrs. Law and Order now, though. And she's Mrs. Tough on the border, even though she had never been there up to about 20 minutes ago when she decided to go because she's running for office. No, just let it go. It'll let it happen anyway. I don't think there's proof of that. I'd like to see proof that she did that. She's claiming she did. Exactly. Show me the data. That's true. She does. Stuck on repeat. I'll follow the law. No, you said you want to do it. Necessity basis. Never did anything like that. Let me know in the chat. Is it a necessity for horrible criminals to change their gender in prison on the taxpayer's dollar? Because what she's saying right now is it shouldn't happen. She'll follow the law, but it shouldn't happen unless it's a necessity basis. Really? A dude needs to become a woman in prison and then get transferred to the women's prison where there are stories where they go ahead and rape the female inmates. Let me know in the chat what you think. Exactly. If you follow the law 1%, it wouldn't be open. It's not the facts, it's bullshit. Wow, you're not Joe Biden. Awesome. Sign me up. Yeah. You're gonna turn the page from what? Your bullshit? Unburdened. Anyone has been. What about all the Democratic presidents that fucked us? Obama. It is. Kamala and Biden in office. Bingo. That's got nothing to do with him. No, we don't. No, we don't. And he's been running for office? Yeah, to give it to you clowns. Fucking clear to us too, bitch. No one said that. Yeah, still haven't answered the question. Is Trump? No fucking. It's not supposed to be easy. Answer the question. No, not behind. Only behind closed doors. No, you just belittle men, white men, Republicans, conservatives. By the way, her husband is not only a woman beater, but also a cheater, cheating on his ex-wife, the babysitter. So she's talking about people who have issues in the forefront. I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing it. That's not true. Her administration has done that. They just recently tried to pass something. Why are you yelling, bitch? You still haven't answered the question. Yep. You all knew his brain was oatmeal. Of a 5-year-old. Like Depends or regular underwear. Now she's trying to take over this interview. She's trying to say Trump, Trump, Trump. And what have you heard about her plan and her competency? Nothing. This isn't about Donald Trump. It's about you, bitch. You're supposed to be making a pitch to the Fox viewers watching about whether you're competent to do this job and what would you do. She just said Trump, 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 Trump. Bring him here then. The American people don't think that, and that's who is going to vote for you, dummy. And we're not going to vote for you. Not a fact. Bullshit.
Yeah, for Israel to be cool and be good and do good things.
Word salad. Yup. He never did that. He never pulled out of it. You shouldn't have to apologize. She won't shut the fuck up. Just bullshitting. Shut the fuck up. And you're not showing shit. You're rambling and pissing and moaning. Yeah. Get it out of your system, bitch, because you're not convincing anybody. You're alive. Which is almost a completely different person because she's flip flopped on everything. So that was the bullshit interview, everyone. It was her rambling and talking over Brett Baer for most of it. She wouldn't shut the fuck up. It was the standard Democratic playbook. Oh, it's because Trump walked in the door, because Trump's running for office, because Trump. Well, we have to do this because Trump's running for office. You have to suck as an administration because Trump's running for office. Who is the fault of? What is the fault of the past 4 years of garbage, the past 4 years of conflicts happening across the world, the past 4 years of the price for everything for American consumers going up and up and up? People are losing their apartments. People are losing their homes. They can't afford to live and take care of their family anymore. Whose fault is that? It's not Donald Trump. He's not in office. That's what comrade Kamala was trying to tell you right there. It's the fault of the Biden-Harris regime. Now, just like when Brett Baer was talking to her and asking her the questions, you're saying you want to turn the page. Turn the page on what, bitch? You've been in charge for 4 years. You want to turn the page on you? Well, how the American people do that is by putting Trump back in. That's how we turn the page on you. But then the Democrats say, well, turn the page on a decade full of a fair amount of Democratic presidents, as well as a smattering of Republican presidents. So who are we turning the page on? Bad Democratic policies that are hurting the American people. So the point of her that before it turned into a shit show, and I knew it was going to. This is why I can never really be sober for these things, because it drives me nuts. But the point of this was for her to attempt to branch out and meet a conservative base. Maybe there were conservatives that are unsure what to do, or there are like conservatives against Trump. So they might be thinking, well, I don't know which way to go yet. So convince me of a way to go if you're one of those. This was what this interview was supposed to be. The reason she crossed lines and came over to Fox News. And the only thing she did was raise her voice, rant, put up the old word salad, and then say Trump, 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 Trump. Well, you know what? The American people are also saying Trump, Trump, Trump. But that's because we don't want any of you dumb fucks in. She lied about knowing Dementia Joe was messed up in the head and incapable of doing the office. She lied about that and said, oh, well, you know, he seemed very confident and he seemed to be able to put one pant leg in at a time with his pants. And she danced around and bullshitted the entire thing. They were aware that he was declining. They were aware of how bad he was. They lied to the American people about how he was. Now, if she took her responsibility seriously in any way, shape, or form, as soon as he stepped down and said, I can't run, I can't do this job, it was her responsibility to invoke the 25th Amendment and have him removed from office because he's no longer competent to do the job. She didn't do it. Why didn't she do it? Because leaving Dementia Joe in office right now acts as a buffer for herself and her campaign and the other Democrats so that she can try to distance herself and go, well, listen, I was there and I helped with like some important things, but then with the other stuff, I wasn't. I was like in the shadows in the background and they kept me shackled up so I couldn't do anything. But now that they left me out, I'm Joy and I'm going to save all of you. And I think anyone with a half a brain realizes that's bullshit. If the guy that's kicking me in the nuts right now says that he's going to run for office and he's going to make some changes and I'm not going to get kicked in the nuts anymore, I'm going to ask him, why don't you stop kicking me in the nuts right now? Why are you going to wait till your inauguration day in January to stop kicking me in the nuts? You haven't fixed anything your entire place in office. But now you're going to come out of the gate swinging. And you're going to be a brand new candidate that no one's ever seen and no one knows. You're a brand new player in this game. And the reality of it is she's not a brand new player. We know who she is. She did get to stay in the background, so you didn't get to learn how obnoxious and how stupid she really is. But they've tried this playbook and it's failed. In the beginning, they hid her from reporters. They hid her from questions. They hid her from interviews. They tried to do the in the basement approach that they did with old Joe when he ran for office. And it didn't work with her because Trump was leading too far. She had to be boots on the ground, and she had to start showing people who she was. Because other than knowing that you don't really like her and you hate her crazy cackling laugh, you didn't know enough about her. Now you're seeing her in all the interviews. You're saying, as I said earlier in the show, you saw her on Call Her Daddy. You saw her on Charlemagne the God. You saw her on 60 Minutes and all of these other shows. And you're getting to see who she really is. And it's a professional, stupid person who's never really accomplished anything in her life. The only reason she got off in office was sleeping with the mayor of San Francisco. That's what started her political career. And yes, you can say, well, hey, if men can do it, women can do it too. Okay, fair enough. But don't parade yourself as this experienced person that has the knowledge and wherewithal to get things done when you chose the opposite road of knowledge and experience to do anything. You know, when she said, well, you know, I'm in the only way that I'm like Trump is I'm not a political insider as well. I didn't come from DC in politics, even though she was a senator and then she was the vice president voting on things. Other than that, no, she wasn't part of it. But she tried to say that, like, she tried to insinuate she was a little bit like Trump too. She was a political outsider. So she was going to come in and she's going to be able to take the actions and do the things that Trump tried to do as a political outsider as well. But he was a complete outsider. He wasn't part of the swamp. He wasn't bought and paid for by anyone. Kamala's bought and paid for. She puts her finger up and she blows in the wind into whatever direction. When Brett Baer was bringing up her policies from 2019 and before to her policies that are right now, she's flip-flopped on almost every major issue. She said no fracking. I mean this, there's not going to be any fracking. Now she's saying, well, we probably have to have some fracking. She said, leave the border alone, stop being racist. Now she says, I went to the border and I feel strongly about the border and we're going to fix it. She said she was the deciding vote to go after people that are in the hospitality industry to make sure there was a harder effort to go after them and their taxes, to make sure these waitresses and other people in hotels, they got that money taken out of them. Now she steals President Trump's idea and says no tax on tips. The woman has no moral ground. She has no plan because she has no morality or no base to stick to. She will roll with whatever everyone needs her to roll with. I mean, she still couldn't walk away from, in the middle of the interview, she still couldn't walk away from, well, transgender surgeries in prison. They have the certain circumstances where they're absolutely needed. Now, let's be honest with each other, folks. Does any prisoner in any prison, male or female at all, is there any necessity whatsoever for a prisoner to get a transgender surgery at the expense of taxpayer dollars? It isn't. And we all know why they're doing it. The prisoners are doing it in order to change their circumstances. If a man gets himself turned into a woman, now they have to consider moving him to the women's prison. And I said this earlier in the show. That has happened. The men have had the surgery, got turned into women, or claimed that they were women, so they needed to be moved. They got moved to the women's prison, and then the rapes and attacks on women went up in those facilities when those men got put in there and got put into population with women. The prisoners are only taking advantage of this situation that Democrats are making available to them because they can use it for their own advantage. So a prisoner is supposed to be there serving punishment and serving time, and instead they're coming up with creative ways to get out of it or to get different treatment from everybody else because you just changed your sex, according to the Democratic Party. It's ridiculous. And in this interview, she didn't walk away from that. She said, I'm going to follow the law and follow the way things are supposed to go. So she's not going to challenge that any of that is on the books at all, that it shouldn't be. And if there's any situations where it's a necessity, according to her and the Democratic Party, those will be allowed to go through. That she tries to say that Trump is incompetent. He can't serve in office. He's not capable of doing the job. Yet the Democratic Party is the party of absolute chaos. What is the Democratic Party in favor of? They're in favor of transing children. They're in favor of transing all of our kids, putting that type of rhetoric in schools, allowing it in prisons. They're in favor of turning their backs on our allies and letting rioters in the streets fly the flags of unfriendly countries and to burn the American flag. And then just recently they had some vote about taking action against the American people. A vote just came through. I got to see if I can find that. But while simultaneously talking about, well, Trump's the one that's going to send the military after you, except the Biden-Harris campaign has sent the Department of Justice against American citizens. They've sent them against mothers and fathers trying to advocate for their kids from genderqueer books and other things in schools. They've sent the Department of Justice against them, sent the FBI to investigate them and against them. The Democratic Party projects whatever they're doing, they claim the other side is doing. So that way, when they point the finger, maybe you'll go over there and bother them instead of bothering the Democrats. They're the ones that are using their own resources to attack the American people. They just voted on something recently about being able to use forcible action against the American people within certain circumstances. I'm surprised that that's not on the page here. but I'm going to try and find that very briefly. So you know what? It came up for me earlier too. And I should have saved that, but I was focusing on the show. In the next update that I do, I will try to get that information for you. But just to kind of wrap this up for everybody, because I know that you've all come here to see that it's come to an end. I appreciate everybody being here and being part of the show. Yeah, I'll read some comments here. It's Smith PD saying, I can't afford my house, but I got to pay for migrants to get bigger and nicer houses than me. What the actual fuck? And it's exactly right. We're giving away millions of dollars to let these people come in. I've used this analogy before. If you and I right now, when you're suffering, you're broke, you can't afford your house, you can't afford anything anymore, and you go, you know what? I'm out of options. I'm going to go down the street. I'm going to rob the local bank not because I want to go on a cruise and I want to have a better life and a better experience. I literally have to do this for my family. And then you go rob the bank right now as an American citizen, and then they catch you with it. Will they accept your excuse that you did it because you needed a better life and you did it because you could take care of your family? No. You and I, as American citizens, would immediately be arrested, and all of the funds that they could find and whatever we did with them would be taken back. They would never allow our families to get their hands on it. But in the meantime, running directly aside of that is illegals are allowed to break our laws. You're crossing a border you're not supposed to cross. You're coming over here and you're circumventing our laws. And then you say, well, I'm scared of my life in the country that I'm coming from, and I want a better life here. And the Democrats' response is, sure, no problem. We can perfectly understand that. Your people too, and you deserve that. Okay, why can't I rob the bank and help my family? Why can't I get away with it? Why is there a difference between illegals coming in and breaking the law and then us doing it to take care of our families, and we're arrested and we face the full extent of the law for the things that we did? This is what taxpayers are upset about. I'm sure as hell what I'm upset about. Why can they break the law, and not only do the rest of us have to follow it to the letter, but our taxpayer dollars have to be used to support all the people that are being voluntarily allowed to break the law. You saw in the interview, again, she brings up with, well, as far as the border situation goes, she says, I'm going to follow the law, I'm going to follow the rules, and that's how we're going to handle it. But you're allowing people to break America's laws and cross the border and come in here and then do God knows what, either rape and attack American legal tax-paying citizens, take advantage of the system as it is for people, or maybe there's a small percentage who actually want to fit in with the rest of the society, get a job and pay their taxes and do their fair share. Maybe, but they broke the rules to get to that point. If I'm a mobster ripping off store owners and making money and hurting people, but then I come to a point where I become legitimate, it doesn't erase everything that I did as a mobster. I just got to a point where I'm like, now I'm going to go legit. Now I'm going to totally follow the rules and do everything. Okay, but you don't get to erase all of my history and everything I did up to that point where I decided to make a change. If illegals come in and they want to become part of the nation and follow the rules, great. But you still broke the rules to get here, and you have to face some responsibility for that action. And our government should be taking action at the border. Kamala's not going to do that. Kamala still has to answer to the most radical parts of the Democratic base, which is also what Biden has been doing. The most radical parts of the base support Palestine and hate Israel. They support terrorism, right? Gays for Palestine, queers for Palestine, right? And what was somebody else saying in an interview? I think Bill Maher was just saying this in one of his shows. He said, "Queers for Palestine." He said, "This is really bizarre because if you went over there, the Palestinians would throw you off the tallest roof they could find because you're gay. That's not allowed in their society." But they support they attempt to support each other because they see each other as disenfranchised groups, and because of that, they believe they're on the same page, the enemy of my enemy type of situation. But for terrorist nations and Iran and these others, they're useful idiots. This is the base of the Democratic Party and what they have to get their support from, and they cater to. So if they say, when she's saying, "I'm going to support Israel, and we're going to keep doing that and supporting our allies," that's the reason she's losing support in Michigan, because it has such a large Muslim population. So they're saying in order for us to punish you, you're not going to get our vote. That's the reason Kamala's having a hard time in Michigan. When they don't cater to their mentally ill radical base, they suffer. But now she's trying to cross the lines. She's losing men because they hate men, and that if you want to be even partially decent man, you need to step up and vote for a woman, because that's the reason that you don't like Kamala. Not that she doesn't have any policies, not that she's a radical and she supports the radicals. It's because you're less of a man, because you don't feel comfortable voting for a woman. Now, is anyone scared to vote for a woman? Or do you just want the right person in there? I mean, I want the right man in there too. And fucking 90% of them we've got all fucking suck. So if we got a competent woman in there that was going to take the country in the right direction and help legal American citizens and their families, you would absolutely have my vote. No one is scared to vote for a woman. But as I played earlier in my show leading up to this, they had this campaign video of these men saying, "I'm not scared to vote for Kamala Harris. She's got my vote." So you're voting for her because she's a woman, not because she has any policies. And that's what, just like the energy of the Democratic Party is. It's especially today's Democratic Party. It's not the party of common sense solutions and helping American citizens and taxpayers, all of us that are the ones that are helping to keep this country moving. It's happy, happy, joy, joy. It's totally emotion based. Well, why don't you like gays? Is it because you're homophobic? Or do you have some gay tendencies too? That's the reason why you're not happy with it? Or do you not like trans because maybe you're part trans too and you're scared about looking at yourself? This is the shit that they say. Instead of saying maybe there's legitimate reasons that people have a problem with these things. How about it being shoved down our kids' throats? How about it being shoved down our throats? How about not being able to have an opinion you can say out loud about it because you're going to get in trouble or you're going to get attacked over it? So there goes your freedom of speech because you're worried about you or your family's own safety. But to them, it's emotion, emotion, emotion. Not, have you noticed that? Not that I have some facts and I have some solutions for all of you to help you, and here they are. It's emotion, emotion, emotion. Trump, bad, bad, bad. He said bad things. Orange man, bad. I don't like him, bad. While she's in an interview trying to advocate for herself while some undecided Republicans or conservatives should vote for her. And all it was is, you should vote for me because Trump is bad. You don't have anything to offer me? Can you tell me how my life's going to get better if you get in office? Trump's telling me. Trump's saying he's going to lower taxes on people. Trump's saying everybody in the hospitality area is going to get to keep all their tips tax free. Trump's saying you're going to have the freedom to live your life. Kamala and the Democrats aren't saying that. They're saying you have to follow their way and their rule. And then within those bounds, you'll be okay. And it has to be the happy, happy, joy, joy of accepting everything, whether you like it or not. Oh, you don't like prisoners getting transgender surgeries? Too bad. You don't like transgender ideology in your schools? Too bad. Oh, you can maybe grumble about it a little bit, but we're not going to stop it and we're not going to change nothing. We're still going to do it anyway. Right? And then the other side is trying to go, this is mentally ill shit and there's something that needs to be done about it. Don't force it on children. Being the biggest component of all of it. So as far as how this little interview went, it just seems like it was a shit sandwich. Brett Baer tried to ask some questions. I'll give him some credit. He needed to press her harder, and he didn't, which was my concern right from the beginning. So I'm sure he's going to get roasted on X. And I told everybody I was going to do the exact same thing. So I'll be on there telling him, you just got woman-splained to by Kamala for most of your interview that you were supposed to be running. So that wasn't great at all. And then she ranted for the whole thing about, again, Trump bad, and not about things that she's going to do to make Americans' lives better. She's trying to say she showed up at the border. So that's a cool thing. Great. But so you got a photo op at the border. Now, what are you going to do? And she says, well, our border rules and how it's handled is broken. Okay, then Congress is going to get together. They're going to vote on it, and they're going to make changes about how people can become legal citizens of the country following the process. In the meantime, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about all of the illegals that are pouring over the border, and you're telling all the border agents, stand down, let them in, give them their cell phone, give them their EBT card, give them a court date that they don't necessarily have to show up for, and then let them into the interior of the United States and wish everybody the best of luck. But instead, she turns it around to, our border policy is broken and we need to fix it. Okay, but in the meantime, people probably want to hear that you want to close the border. Shut the whole thing down while we get a hold of the problem that's here. She never said that, and they don't have any intention on doing it because their base would attack them as racists if they said, we're closing the border tomorrow while we get a hand and control of this whole situation. Again, they have to flip-flop from their administration comes into office and they say, you're welcome here. The bad, evil orange man is gone. So now you can come into this country. You'll be welcome with open arms. Now at the 11th hour when she's running for office, they have to slam the brakes on, turn around and go, we need to get a hold of the border, and that's what I'm going to do on day one, and we're going to figure it out. You've left it open for damn nearly 4 years, and you let millions upon millions of people pour into this country that are all going to be people that are going to nullify American citizens' votes because they're going to get a driver's license, they're going to have a place to stay, and they're going to be able to go to those voting polls because you need an ID in most places in order to vote. Now the illegals are going to have an ID. Now they're going to be able to identify themselves, and they're going to vote. Who are they going to vote for? 8 times out of 10. Who are they going to vote for if they care to show up? The people who are putting money in their pockets, in food in their hands. That's the Democratic Party. That's letting them in. That's one of the points of the whole thing. At the taxpayer's expense. And we have no say in the matter. Our taxpayer dollars are going towards all of this. We don't get a say. And even to add insult to injury, not only do we not get a say about our tax dollars, but those votes for those people, they're going to come in and they're very likely going to vote against our best interest because they just walked in the door. They don't care about what the country's currently going through and how us and all of our families are suffering. They care about the free handouts they're getting from the Democratic Party, brought to you by the taxpayer, that is helping them start their brand new life here. So are you going to bite the hand that feeds you, or are you going to vote for it? So that's why the DOJ is attacking, what was it, Virginia? Just trying to take illegals off their, putting a question in their voting information saying, are you a legal citizen or are you illegal? Check here. Now the Department of Justice is suing Virginia for taking that action. I believe it's Virginia. Why do you have a problem with Virginia just ensuring that their election protocols are legal and proper? That illegals aren't supposed to vote, so you should not be, because you are not here under the proper circumstances. She just said in this interview with Brett that I'm going to follow the law. The law is illegals can't vote, so that is the law. That's all she said. So yeah, they can't vote, but yet you're attacking Virginia for making sure that illegals can't vote. You see what I'm saying? It's all hypocrisy. It's all claiming one thing while doing another. Again, the analogy that I said, I'll stop kicking you in the nuts on January 6th when I'm inaugurated into office. Like, wait a minute, stop kicking me in the nuts now. The Democratic Party has been kicking the legal American taxpayers in the nuts for a long time, but at the bare minimum right now, these passed almost coming on 4 years. And they're telling you that's all going to stop in January when they're elected. It's a hypocrisy and the danger that these people are to the American people, while simultaneously telling you that Trump is the danger and he's going to harm you. Trump's going to stop democracy, yet the Democrats find a way around democracy every chance they get. Remember how they stabbed old Joe in the back and put Kamala as their primary candidate, and it took about 30 seconds? They didn't even have their convention to give people the opportunity at that time to vote for. They already made the decision, and at the convention it was get in line and put your vote in that we already know is there. Vote for Kamala. Don't you dare say somebody else. All of those people that were set to vote in that convention had already agreed to back Joe Biden as a primary candidate. At the 11th hour, they were told that vote's going for Kamala, and I don't want to hear a damn thing about it. That's from the party of democracy who wants to make sure that you and I are all treated fairly. Let's keep that in mind. I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is show you the record of the Democratic Party, and you can see what's happening, and you can see how they're treating the American people. I guarantee if Kamala gets into office, we're screwed. I know that you hear this a lot, and you hear it every election cycle. You hear this vote coming up right now for president is going to be the most important vote in all of our lives, right? We've heard it every 4 years, every 8 years for the re-election of the one in office. We hear the same rhetoric every time. But I truly believe now we've come to a point where this crossroads right here, depending on which one we vote in, is literally going to doom the country if we put in Kamala and the Democrats, or allow the country to keep moving forward if Trump goes into office. Trump's only got 4 years, right? But let's say you're not the biggest fan of Trump. Okay. He's only got 4 years and then he's done. He's not the dictator that everyone makes him out to be. After that, we may see another Trump-like individual who is an outsider to politics, who cares about the American people, and they will come in with that mindset instead of wearing the suit and the tie and being the political drone. That was one of Trump's biggest things. He wasn't your and that's what they don't like. He can't be controlled. It's hard to anticipate his next move. He wasn't the standard political drone. Even if they're a Republican or a Democrat, they almost still march in lockstep with how Congress and how Washington, D.C. works. Because there's still a general theme and a general way of doing everything. And it's quid pro quo. You wash my hand, I wash yours. You're on this side of the aisle, I'm over there, but I'll meet you in the middle to get this thing done. And let's help each other out. And that helps keep each other in office. And that's how they work. The biggest thing that isn't happening is doing good things for the American people. So I truly believe if Kamala, which is extremely unlikable, if Kamala gets in office, this country is in absolutely serious peril. And then the rest of the world, because all of the conflicts that are already happening are going to continue. The other ones that are waiting to see how this all goes, for example, China and Taiwan, they're going to ramp up as soon as they see who's getting in. Because they know if it's a Kamala regime and a continuation of the Democrats, China's going to be able to make their move on Taiwan because they'll be soft on taking any real action against them, just like they've been soft on everywhere else that's currently happening right now. So in my opinion, Trump is the best bet. And it seems like a lot of people, based on polls and how the states are flip-flopping, that's where it's going. So I'd like to thank everybody for tuning into the show today. If you liked it, please like, share, and support the show. I'm trying to regrow it from a leftist purge on X, and I've had it going for about a year, and I've really been making changes to it and building it back up again. So again, please like, share, and support. It's on YouTube. It's also here on Rumble, where you're all with me right now. And thanks for joining me, and thanks for being part of the chat and interacting with me. And this was the shit show. This is what it was. You saw it with your own two eyes. So there it is. All right. Thanks, everyone. And I'll see you again real soon with more news updates.